I was presiding at a wedding a few years ago, and they had a 3-year-old ring bearer. And because 3-year-olds can be unpredictable, the wedding party had adopted a mechanism they had seen at other weddings, where they armed the best man, who was an uncle to the little boy. They armed him with a little package of gummy bears, and they got the child to walk down the aisle by saying, just walk up to Uncle Jeff and get your gummy bears. And at rehearsal, this worked swimmingly. Kid walked right up the aisle, got the gummy bears. Next day at the wedding, wearing strange clothes in the strange place among all these strange people, took a little more coaxing and cajoling and convincing, and finally the little boy walked up, made his way to the front, but no one had thought to bring a second bag of gummy bears. They had just one package and they burned it at rehearsal. So this child now is startled and confused and upset, and his eyes get big and start to well with tears because the reward he was promised wasn't available. And the maid of honor tugs on my vestments and says, Deacon Steve, where are the gummy bears? Okay, I don't know. There was no class in gummy bears in deacon school. We didn't cover that. I don't know. So now with everyone in the church, the whole wedding party standing in front, waiting the arrival of the bride to come forward, the 3-year-old boy has a meltdown. He's overwhelmed with the anxiety and the stress and the disappointment, and he was entitled to the reward he didn't get. Now contrast that to another wedding I did at about the same time, a few years ago. Same situation. 3-year-old ring bearer, nephew of the bride in this case. There was no promised reward. His mother, the boy's mother, was in the wedding party, so they just simply said, walk up to mom. And at rehearsal, went off without a hitch, walked right on up to his mom. Next day at the wedding, wearing these strange clothes in this strange place with all these strange people, a little overwhelmed, the meltdown started in the back of the church. And he started crying, and he wasn't going to walk up. And in that moment, this wedding party standing in front waiting, the groom just stepped forward, walked the length of the church, down the aisle. Threw protocol to the wind, didn't matter. Got to the back, got down on one knee, gave the little boy a hug, wiped his tears, gave him another hug, then scooped him up in his arms and walked back up to the front of the church. Oh, the women cried. How did she get him? The cameras flashed. Hearts melted. My friends, that is the kingdom of God. That is the kingdom of God. Yes, there are rules of etiquette and protocols and practice and things we've done, but in that moment, with the least among us in distress, stepping forward and scooping him up in his arms and bringing him along. That's the kingdom of God. And Jesus keeps trying to explain this to people again and again. The kingdom of God is not a reward, it's rewarding. It's not a noun, it's a verb. The kingdom of God is not a place. It's a disposition of heart. It's an approach to life. It's the love that we put into the world in small ways now that last forever. It's the mustard seed that we plant in our heart that grows to give a source of life to so much of creation. It's the pinch of yeast that we need into the dough of our lives that raises the bread that feeds the multitudes. That's the kingdom of God. And Jesus keeps trying to tell us this. And people keep asking, how do I get there? And we ourselves have a hard time getting our heads around it sometimes because we were introduced to the idea of heaven at about the same time that we were introduced to Santa Claus. And it was served to us as a pack of gummy bears, a reward for good behavior. And that's appropriate for a 3-year-old. But Jesus is saying to us in the gospel, you're not preschoolers anymore. You're grown-ups. You're adults. And it's not about the reward you get for yourself. It's about the love that you carry with you. If you don't change your disposition, you don't change your mind and change your heart on this thing, that you're going to show up at the gates and the Lord's going to look at you and say, I don't know where you're coming from. I don't recognize this. This doesn't look like love. Where are you coming from? Are you coming from a sense of entitlement? Are you coming from a sense of earned or deserved reward? I don't recognize that. Are you coming out of a sense of self-interest? I don't recognize that. That doesn't look like love to me. And we're going to say, but we ate and we drank with you. We walked the path you asked. And the Lord's going to say, but why? Did you do that expecting a reward? That doesn't look like love. Love, that's not love. It's a tough message at a tough time. But look around. Look at the culture that we're building. What is driving us forward? Is it a heart filled with love that reaches out and scoops up and carries the least among us? Or are we all just busy trying to figure out how we're going to get the candy for ourselves? The kingdom of God is not a reward, it's rewarding. And true love gives everything and expects nothing. And that life, to live that way, truly is very rewarding.